Hello and welcome to your Illyriad tutorial video. In this video we'll be covering the military actions of Blockade and Siege. We'll start with Blockade. Blockade is a special type of movement in Illyriad used to disrupt any and all caravans incoming and outgoing from an enemy city in an attempt to divert them to your city. When you intercept these caravans, they are damaged in the process but will travel slowly to the intercepting town before delivering resources and going home. So now I'll take you through the action of setting up a blockade on an enemy city. For this example, I'll use this tutorial town. Click on the city and choose Send Army. I've set up a special army called the Blockade Army that you'll see here for this purpose. From the drop-down menu, I'll choose Blockade as the action, and then you need to choose the amount of time that you would like to blockade a certain city for. For now, I'll choose for 6 hours. The travel speed is here and the time to destination is here. Before I choose Send, I have to choose a location for the blockade camp. It must be in an adjacent square to the city, but it cannot be on impassable squares. So for example, this canyon that's below the city I want to blockade, I can't choose it, so you'll see an X. I also can't set up the blockade directly on the city, so you'll see an X there. For now, I'll choose this square right here and choose Send. Now you'll see on the outbound military movements page, the army called Blockade Army is set in motion. The time to their destination is here. And if I go back to the world map, I can see them moving here. In my next events, I can see that they will arrive to their destination and set up the blockade in 15 minutes. And now you'll see my blockading army is getting ready to arrive at their destination. And here you'll see the blockading army on the map. If you click on it, it says your blockading force. And now you'll see here, outgoing caravans from the tutorial town were intercepted by my blockading army and are now heading toward my city. In the next event screen, you can see the action here. If you click, my inbound trade movements show from Luna's tutorial town. I have caravans coming with 1,000 gold. Those were originally not intended for me, but I've intercepted them. The final type of military action available in Illyriad is the siege. And siege is basically the ultimate showing of force available in-game. Rather than attacking just troops, a siege attacks the buildings in a city and destroys them. A siege can also have the ultimate end goal of capturing a city for the player that's launching the siege, or razing the city to the ground, which reduces it to 0 and takes it entirely off the map. If a city is razed and it's the last city belonging to a player, they will get a new city with 0 population respawned on the map, in which they will need to basically start from scratch. But they will retain the research that they received in that last city. So as you can see, this is definitely an ultimate showing of force in-game. The process and tactics involved in siege are lengthy, time-consuming, expensive, and can be sometimes complicated. I'll give you a basic overview in this video, and we'll go through the process of sieging a city. But first, before you siege, you must create special types of units that are siege units in your military. If you go to your train troops screen, you can see the different types of siege units available for you. They may have different names based on your race. Mine are battery towers, which are siege engines that attack the walls of a city. So if a city has a city wall defending it, this will bring it down. And ballistas, which attack the buildings within a city. In order to create these, the resources are here, and you'll see the cost per hour is here. They're relatively expensive, and they require the advanced resource component of siege blocks. All of these take a lot of time to create in comparison to some of the other troops and types of items that are available in game. Once you have these types of troops created, you'll need to put them inside of an army, which I've done here, in an army called Siege Army. and then you can send them at a city in order to siege it. As I mentioned, the process of siege is a long one, but basically, once you send your troops to siege a city and it lands, it will take 12 hours to set up the initial siege encampment. Once the encampment is created, then every hour a volley will attack the buildings and continue until you've reduced the population of the city for your final assault, in which you choose to capture or raise the city. For now, we'll go to the world map and choose a target in order to siege a city. Knowing information about a city that you're going to siege is very important. So before you launch the siege attack, you might want to send spies or scouts to see what sort of defenses and building levels are available in that city. You can see the population here by clicking on it. I will need to reduce that population to 25% of its size at this time in order to be able to capture that city. So once I've clicked on the city, I'll choose Send Army. And I have my siege army here. From there I can choose the action of siege. And I can set the duration that I want the siege attack to last for. Now I'll pick 3 days. You also must choose a square on the map in order to place your siege encampment. It has to be adjacent to the city that you're wanting to siege, and it can't be in an impassable square. So here you see this canyon is impassable, so I can't set up my siege army there. And here is my blockade from earlier, so I also cannot set up the siege encampment on that square. So I'll choose this square in order to launch my siege. The time to destination is here at 45 minutes. So I'll click Send. And then you'll see on the outbound military movement screen that my siege army is in motion. If I go back to the world map, I can see them moving to their destination. And now you'll see my siege army has landed and taken their place in the square next to the city that I'm going to siege. If you click here, you can see it says your sieging force. And if I visit my mail, I can find out more details. The system mail tells me that my army has begun a siege at the square -319, -131 on Tutorial Town. The siege encampment will take 12 hours to prepare and will begin bombardment at this time. This 12 hours of preparation gives the person defending against the siege a little bit of time to prepare and maybe set up some defenses or have friends come to their aid. Things like that. So now I'll go back to the world map and wait for my encampment to finish. Now that the 12 hours has passed, the bombardment on Tutorial Town has begun. In my system mail, I can see the notification explaining in detail what's happening. My siege engines are now striking and will continue to do so every hour, and I will need to reduce the target's population to 320 in order to capture or raise this city. In a separate system mail, I'll see the results of my first siege engine's attacks. You'll see here any hits and misses, the levels that it used to be, and current levels of anything in the city. Currently, my first hit only took down a clay pit from level 20 to level 19. Now if we visit the siege page, we can see a little bit more information about the currently in progress siege. And it says here, you'll be able to storm and raise the city once your bombardment starts and you manage to reduce its population to 320. In order to capture this city for my own, I will need to have the required population as if I was going to settle another city. So to make sure you have the required population to capture the city, I can visit my castle and settlers page. And it says here, population required for next city is 2,000 and I have 18,000. So I can capture the city and it's functionally as if I had settled another city. We'll go back to the siege page on the military movements and wait for the next attack to occur. Time has elapsed again and my siege engines have fired another volley into the city Tutorial Town. My hits and misses are listed here, and the levels that it was and currently is are here. So I was able to reduce the common ground from level 10 to level 9, and the barracks from 3 to 2. And again, another hour later, another attack has landed on the tutorial town, and I've reduced the level of the quarry from 20 to 19. You'll see here, another attack has landed on the city. This time, it was all misses. So as you can see, the process of sieging a city, as I said, can be a lengthy one. It's also important to note that during this time, the defenders could attack your siege camp in order to break the siege, or use the sally forth command from the defenders within their city and their reinforcements to raid your encampment. For this example, though, I don't have any defenders attacking me, so it's a little bit easier than it might be in actual practice. Attacks on the tutorial town continue like that for a while until I finally get the message in my mail that tutorial town belonging to Luna is ready to fall. My siege encampment has achieved the necessary level of infrastructure destruction in order to initiate the final push to force relocation of this player's capital city. The storm and raze or storm and capture options are now available on the siege summary page. From here, I have two different options, as I mentioned earlier. I can storm and raze, which takes the city and levels it completely, removing it from the map. Or I can storm and capture, which will then take the city and capture it as my own, so I can keep the city and continue to level it and use it as if it's one of my own. Once I choose the capture option, it'll take me to my military movements page, and I can see my capturing army, siege army, is now en route to capture the city. If I go to the world map, I can see them in motion. Once they have arrived to their destination and combated any defenders that are left on that town, I have now captured the city. I now get the message in my mail that the town has been captured and the player has been relocated, moving to a different location on the map with a new city of a starting population with 0. And if I go to my mail, I have a separate message letting me know the town has been captured. The final message, however, is the combat report from the final combat that would have taken place in the city as they defended from the last capture movement of my army. Now in my example, there weren't any defending troops in the town, so it was a lot easier than if there had been. But at this time you would have to make your final push and fight any remaining troops that are in the city in order to be able to capture it. And if I go back to the world map, you'll see the city on the map is now mine. And if I go to my city select screen, in the drop-down menu, I can choose to visit the tutorial town and see that it is mine. All of the buildings, resource levels, and research in the city now belong to me. And I can continue to grow the city from there. Now the siege process, as you notice, takes down the level of things quite a lot. So I don't get to keep the city just as it was whenever I started, but I can keep it from here and continue to grow it as one of my own. If I go to the town map, you can see here there aren't very many buildings left in the city.